Welcome to our channel, your gateway to the most spine-chilling tales and unnerving true stories. Today, we present a harrowing true account, The Haunting of Silent Hill. Get ready to be on the edge of your seat as we delve into this unsettling narrative. But be warned, comfort is the last thing you'll find here. The whispers. Anna woke up with a start, her heart pounding and her lungs burning. She had no idea where she was, or how she had gotten there. As her surroundings slowly came into focus, she realized she was in some sort of dark, dusty cell. The only light came from a small barred window high up on the wall, casting eerie shadows across the floor. The air was cold and dank, carrying with it a faint smell of mold and decay. Shivering uncontrollably, she sat up and rubbed her eyes, trying to clear the cobwebs from her mind. As she looked around, she noticed a few items scattered about the cell. An old wooden chair, a small wooden table, and an even older photo album lying on the floor. Curiosity getting the better of her, she picked up the album and began flipping through its yellowed pages. The pictures inside were faded and torn, their subjects long forgotten. There were photos of patients in various stages of mental illness, some looking haunted and others looking lost. There were also pictures of the staff, their faces stern and unyielding, as if they were trying to maintain control over something that was far beyond their grasp. As she continued to turn the pages, Anna felt a chill run down her spine. Something about these photos made her feel uneasy, as if she were intruding on something private and profoundly disturbing. Suddenly, she heard it. Whispers. Soft, faint whispers that seemed to come from all around her. At first, she tried to ignore them, telling herself that it was just the sound of the wind howling through the asylum's crumbling walls. But the whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they filled her ears and her mind. They sounded like they were coming from the patients in the photos, as if they were trapped inside the pages, desperately trying to reach out to her. Anna felt a knot of fear forming in her stomach as she struggled to make sense of what was happening. Was she losing her mind? Was this some sort of hallucination brought on by the stress of her situation? Or was there something more sinister at work here? The whispers grew louder still, becoming more urgent, more desperate, until she could no longer ignore them. Finally, in a voice that she barely recognized as her own, she spoke aloud. "Who are you? Why won't you leave me alone?" The whispers ceased for a moment, and then, faintly, she heard a single word spoken in reply. "Help." The doctor's secret. Anna's heart pounds in her chest as she follows the whispers deeper into the asylum. She has no idea what she will find, but the urgency in the voices compels her forward. The air grows colder and more oppressive with every step, as if the very walls are pressing in on her. Finally, she rounds a corner and finds herself in a room she never knew existed. The room is small and dimly lit, the only illumination coming from a single flickering candle on the dusty table. The walls are adorned with strange symbols and arcane writings, casting eerie shadows across the floor. In the center of the room, a figure sits hunched over a table, surrounded by gruesome implements and torn, bloody flesh. Even from a distance, Anna can tell that it is the asylum's former director, Dr. Silas. Her heart stops as she realizes what she's seeing. The doctor is performing horrific experiments on the patients, stitching them together in impossible ways, attaching animal limbs to human bodies. The room is covered in blood and gore, the stench of death filling her nostrils. She can feel the whispers of the spirits around her, urging her to act, to put an end to this madness. Dr. Silas, she manages to choke out, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. "Why?" He looks up at her, his eyes wide and wild with insanity. "I was trying to create a new race," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "A perfect race, a race free from pain and suffering." Anna feels a chill run down her spine at his words. "But why did you have to do it like this?" she asks, gesturing to the mutilated bodies scattered around the room. "Why did you have to hurt so many people?" Dr. Silas laughs, a chilling sound that echoes through the room. "Because they were nothing," he says, his voice growing more intense. "They were weak and pathetic, and they stood in the way of progress. I was simply trying to speed up evolution, to create a master race, capable of conquering all obstacles and achieving ultimate knowledge. But Dr. Anna protests. You can't just take people's lives like that. You can't play God. He looks at her with a mixture of pity and disdain. You are so naive, he says. You don't understand the importance of my work. The spirits here, he gestures around him. They will not rest until my experiments are completed. They will haunt this place and everyone in it until the world knows the truth of what I have done. Anna's heart breaks at his words. She knows that she has to stop him, but she's not sure how. The whispers in her ear grow louder, more urgent, as if they're trying to guide her to some sort of solution. She looks around the room, taking in every detail, searching for some way to end this nightmare. Suddenly, she sees it. A vial of clear liquid, sitting on the table next to one of the bodies. She doesn't know what it is, but she can feel the power radiating off of it. With a trembling hand, she reaches out and takes the vial, careful not to spill a drop. The whispers in her ear grow silent, as if they're waiting to see what she do next. Doctor, she says, her voice steady despite her fear. I think I found something that might help. He looks at her with a raised eyebrow, curiosity piqued despite his madness. What do you mean? He asks, leaning forward. She shows him the vial, holding it up for him to see. His eyes widen with interest, and for a brief moment, he seems almost lucid. That, he says, his voice shaking with excitement, is the key. If you administer that to the right subject, you could change the course of history. But doctor, she says, you've already hurt so many people. You can't keep going. He shakes his head, his expression sad and determined at the same time. It doesn't matter how many I've lost, he says. I have to keep trying. The spirits won't rest until I do. Anna looks at him, feeling a wave of pity and sadness wash over her. This man, once a brilliant and compassionate doctor, has been twisted and corrupted by his own obsessions. She knows that she can't simply let him continue. With a deep breath, she raises the vial above her head, preparing to throw it against the wall. But just as she's about to release it, she feels a tug on her sleeve. She looks down to see one of the spirits, a woman with a kind face and gentle eyes, pleading with her. The whispers in her ear return, urging her not to destroy the vial. They tell her that there might be another way. Torn between her desire to stop the doctor and her growing understanding of the spirit's wishes, Anna hesitates. She looks at the vial in her hand, weighing her options. In the end, she decides to trust the spirits. With a deep breath, she puts the vial back on the table, next to the body it was intended for. Dr. Silas looks at her, confusion and suspicion written all over his face. What are you doing? He asks. That's the key to everything. She looks him in the eye, her own gaze steady and unwavering. I think there's another way, she says. A better way. One that doesn't involve hurting anyone else. The doctor stares at her for a long moment, his expression shifting from anger to curiosity to, finally, acceptance. He nods once, slowly, and turns back to his work. You're right, he says, his voice barely above a whisper. There is another way. A better way. As he speaks, the whispers in Anna's ear grow fainter, softer. The spirits seem to be easing their grip on her, allowing her to make her own choices. She watches as Dr. Silas continues to work, but this time, it's different. There's a newfound sense of purpose and determination in his movements. Perhaps, with the right guidance, he can still achieve his goal without resorting to the brutal methods of the past. And so, Anna stands by as the doctor works, her heart heavy with the weight of the knowledge she carries. She knows that the spirits will never truly rest, but perhaps, with her help, they can find peace. And perhaps, in the end, something good can come from the asylum's darkest secrets. The key. Anna closed the journal, her heart racing with a mix of horror and determination. She knew exactly what she had to do now. The key to freeing the trapped spirits was hidden somewhere within the asylum, and she would stop at nothing to find it. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges that lay ahead, and set off on her quest. The asylum seemed to loom larger and more ominous than ever before. Every creak of a floorboard, every rustle of leaves in the distance sent a shiver down her spine, but she forced herself to remain focused on the task at hand. She began her search methodically, checking each room, each hidden nook and cranny. But with every passing moment, the sense of urgency grew more intense. The whispers seemed to be getting louder, more desperate, as if they were trying to guide her to the artifact. Hours passed, and Anna's search led her to the abandoned chapel. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the flickering candlelight. As she crossed the threshold, she felt a chill run down her spine. The chapel had been left untouched since the asylum's closure, and the stale air was heavy with the scent of old incense and forgotten prayers. Moving deeper into the chapel, she noticed a hidden panel in the wall, barely visible in the dim light. A shiver of anticipation ran down her spine as she knelt down and pushed on the panel. It swung open silently, revealing a hidden compartment containing the artifact she had been searching for. The artifact was a glowing crystal, its ethereal light casting a strange, otherworldly hue over the chapel. As Anna reached out to touch it, she felt a surge of power course through her veins. The whispers grew louder still, and she knew that she was close to freeing the trapped spirits. Carefully, she took the crystal in her hands and began to make her way back through the asylum. The whispers grew fainter as she moved further away from the artifact, but she could still feel their presence, guiding her like a beacon through the darkness. Finally, she arrived back at the hidden room where she had found the key. The room was filled with the restless spirits of the asylum's victims, their translucent forms floating aimlessly in the air. She knelt down, holding the crystal aloft, and spoke the words Dr. Silas had written in his journal. By the power of this sacred artifact, I banish you from this realm of torment. You are free to find your peace and to rest in the knowledge that your suffering has not been forgotten. As she spoke the words, a blinding light filled the room, and the spirits vanished, leaving behind only the faintest of whispers. The asylum was silent once more, its dark secrets finally laid to rest. Exhausted but triumphant, Anna stumbled out of the room, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She knew that she had changed the course of history, not just for the spirits of the asylum, but for the countless others who had suffered at the hands of men like Dr. Silas. The whispers had led her to this moment, and she would never forget the lessons they had taught her. As she made her way out of the asylum for the last time, she vowed to spend the rest of her life ensuring that the horrors that had taken place within its walls would never be repeated. The world was a better place without the whispers, and she intended to keep it that way. The labyrinth. Anna trudges through the endless hallways of the asylum, her heart pounding in her chest. The air is thick with dust and despair, the whispers of countless spirits echoing off the cold, stone walls. She squints, trying to focus on the flickering light ahead, as it dances and sways like a willow. The wisp, leading her deeper into the labyrinth. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, urging her forward, guiding her toward the artifact that holds the key to their freedom. As she walks, she can feel the weight of the asylum's dark history pressing down upon her, a suffocating blanket of suffering and torment. The whispers take on different shapes and forms, sometimes sounding like the anguished screams of the patients, other times like the cold, detached voices of the doctors who once worked here. Each one a fragment of a horrifying story, a piece of the puzzle that is the asylum's twisted past. Anna rounds a corner and finds herself in a small, abandoned chapel. Stained glass windows, long since shattered, cast eerie, multicolored shadows across the floor. In the center of the room, a single, flickering candle burns, its light dancing over a dusty, worn altar. Upon the altar sits the artifact, a gleaming crystal orb that pulses with an unnatural energy. She takes a hesitant step forward, her heart racing, as the whispers grow louder, more frantic. Take it, they urge her. Use it to free us. She reaches out, her fingers brushing against the cool surface of the orb. As she touches it, a surge of power runs through her body, making her heart race even faster. The whispers intensify, becoming a cacophony of voices, each one begging her to release them from their eternal torment. She closes her eyes, focusing on the sensation, trying to decipher the meaning behind the whispers. Use it, they urge her. Release us. Trembling, She lifts the orb above her head, preparing to hurl it against the altar. In the split second before she lets it go, she sees a vision of the asylum's future, a future where the spirits are finally free, and the horrors of the past are nothing but distant memories. With a shout born of determination and hope, she hurls the orb against the altar. The orb shatters, releasing a blinding flash of light that fills the chapel. When her vision clears, she finds herself standing in a field of daisies, the warm sun on her face. The whispers have faded away, replaced by the gentle rustling of the wind through the grass. Slowly, she turns around, taking in the sight of the asylum, now nothing but a crumbling ruin in the distance. The ghosts have truly been set free, their suffering finally at an end. As she walks away from the asylum, her footsteps crunching on the dried grass, she knows that she has done the right thing. The spirits can now find peace, and she can finally find peace for herself. The labyrinth has been navigated, the artifact destroyed, and the cycle of torment has been broken. The whispers will never haunt her again. The revelation: Anna finally reaches the artifact, hidden in a secret chamber. As she touches it, the whispers grow louder and more desperate. The artifact begins to glow, and the spirits around her start to fade away. In a final, desperate act, Dr. Silas appears, revealing that he was the one who trapped the spirits and created the artifact. He demands that Anna hand it over, but she refuses, using its power to free the spirits and send them to peace. With a final, triumphant scream, the spirits vanish, and the asylum falls silent once more. The air is thick with dust and the weight of centuries of torment as Anna stands before the glowing artifact. Her heart races and her hands tremble as she reaches out, ever so slowly, and touches its cold surface. The whispers around her intensify, becoming a cacophony of pleas, screams, and sobs. She feels a surge of energy course through her veins, and the artifact begins to hum with power. Dr. Silas appears behind her, his face twisted into a mask of rage and despair. "You fool! You have no idea what you've unleashed," he cries. "That artifact was made to contain the souls of the damned, and it was I who forged it." Anna turns to face him, her eyes wide with horror and disbelief. "You created this place? You did all of this?" The doctor laughs manically, his voice echoing through the now silent asylum. "Yes, I did it all. I sought to create a new race, free of the suffering and weakness that plagues humanity. I experimented on these poor souls, using their pain as fuel for my work." The anger and hatred in his voice are almost palpable, and Anna takes an involuntary step back. She looks around the room, at the blood-stained walls and the instruments of torture, and feels a chill run down her spine. "Why?" she whispers. "Why would you do this? For the greater good." Dr. Silas shouts, his face contorting with madness. "I was trying to create a new world, a perfect world. But I was betrayed. My work was taken from me, and I was locked away in this prison." His eyes flicker to the artifact, and his expression turns desperate. "Give me back what is mine, girl. Give me back the artifact, and I'll grant you any wish you desire." Anna shakes her head, her resolve strengthening. She knows that she can't let him have the artifact. She can't let him continue his twisted experiments and condemn countless innocents to an eternity of suffering. "No, Dr. Silas," she says, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "I can't do that. I won't let you continue this cycle of pain." The doctor's face turns crimson with rage, and he lunges at her, his hands outstretched. "You don't understand," he roars. "You can't stop me." But just as his hands close around her throat, the artifact begins to glow even brighter, and a blinding light fills the room. With a final, triumphant scream, the spirits vanish, and the asylum falls silent once more. The dust settles, and the only sound that remains is the faint beeping of an old heart monitor. Anna collapses to the ground, her chest heaving as she struggles to catch her breath. She looks up at the doctor, now nothing more than a defeated and broken old man, and feels a strange mixture of pity and revulsion. Slowly, she stands and helps him to his feet. "I don't know what happened here," she says, her voice soft and uncertain. "But I think it's over. It's time for you to move on, Dr. Silas. Time to find peace." The old man's eyes meet hers, and for a moment, she thinks she sees a glimmer of sanity flicker within them. Then, with a sigh, he nods. "You're right, my dear," he says, his voice barely audible above the beeping of the heart monitor. "It's time." Together, they leave the abandoned asylum, the sound of their footsteps echoing through the empty halls like the final, fading whispers of a long-dead nightmare. As they walk, Anna glances back one last time, her heart heavy with the knowledge of what she's left behind. But she takes comfort in the knowledge that, at least for now, the spirits have found their peace. And maybe, just maybe, that peace can spread to the rest of the world as well. Thank you so much for joining me on this cinematic journey. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Have you experienced a spine-chilling horror that left you trembling? Share your terrifying tale with us by emailing nightmarenetwork@hotmail.com, and we'd be thrilled to feature it on our platform. Until next time, happy movie watching.